Okay, so moving into your React 2 sprints lab, and you call them labs, gosh dang it. Okay, so moving into your React 2 lab, um, you saw this list of topics, create React app. I did a pretty extensive overview of what that means in our review for the mini. And then like JSX, by now you should be familiar that this is sort of the templating language that that React uses to basically render out fake HTML. All right, and then state we went over extensively. Set state. So this is all stuff that you have been familiarized with, but now you're going to be able to see it. And this is cool. Prop types is a new thing. So prop types, I'm going to show you. I can show you how to use that as well. And then we have on click, so click handler, mapping, and then functional versus class components. So this is all pretty much just like more exposure. The major differences that we have is that our data is a lot more sophisticated than what we've been used to. All right. So we have a lot, yeah. So it's a lot more sophisticated than just a simple to-do app, right? We have like a username, a thumbnail image, an image URL. We have a bunch of likes that you could potentially update, and then comments that you could, potentially get through. So the working example of this app should look much like an Instagram clone, where you can actually like render out some of that data. So this would be the thumbnail image, and then the username, and then the major post image. And then you could basically click on the like button or whatever. And you could also click in this comment field and add a comment to your data there. So, and you're going to see that you have like a bunch of stuff you can do for the extra credit if you get that far. But this is a lot. There's a lot of stuff to do, and so don't feel bad. Like, feel free to reach out to us, please. Like, we're here to help you with all this stuff. But I'm just going to get a project up and running and kind of show you how I like to do it. Kind of follow these steps and build it from the ground up. But before I do that, and while I get this all cloned and up and whatnot, I want to know if there's any major questions that you guys have before we get started. And remember, we've discovered today that this is a safe zone. You can ask literally anything. Like, we're all learners. We're all in this together, right? Got a couple of people typing. So if you didn't have a package lock, you shouldn't for this one. This is the project you guys got, the CS2 React, correct? Roland, we can get to there. Let's do that. Let's do that pretty much first. Oh, come on, Frank. Ruining my fun. I'm just kidding. All right, so yeah, there's not a package lock because we haven't installed anything yet. We haven't installed our Create React app, so there's no packages to like work with. So you shouldn't have a package lock at this point. Okay. All right. And then, okay, so displaying the images, I'm only getting a link instead of the image. So yeah, you need to put the link inside a source tag. Okay, cool. And then, okay, so let's look at our README and let's make sure that we're all set up on the same page. So, okay, so run npm i-g, we already have create React app, or I do at least, and then we're gonna create an app called Instagram. So in here, just in our roots, that's where we're at. So I'm gonna say create. I need to alias this to something because typing that out is bogus. I need to alias to like CRA or something. Okay, here we go. All right, go grab your proverbial soda. So you should get the package lock file after you install. So now we should be able to look inside Instagram, and it should end up coming up. Oh, it's a yarn lock file. So in this case, yarn is replacing that npm stuff, or the node stuff. Okay, and then the instructions say that we need to install Enzyme and Sinon, which are testing libraries that we're going to be able to use. So inside our React app, I need a cd into Instagram and run that command, npm i-save-dev enzyme and Sinon. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to use those testing libraries to test your code. And then I'm assuming, okay, so we have comment section, posts, okay, cool. So I'm going to move this into here and move this into here as well. Cool. Nice. All right, and it should render an input tag. Oh, that's comment section. Let's look at post container. Should render 2 image tags. Okay. So we'll need to have at least 2 image tags to satisfy this test. So it's a pretty trivial test. It's nothing super fancy. These are pretty easy to read, at least. You guys also have a full-on testing sprint where you write like a bunch of client-side tests, and then you have another sprint where you write a bunch of server-side testing tests. So pretty cool. So you'll get very familiar with that type of syntax later on. But yeah, so we just wanted to make sure you had tested this code. Okay, so npm i-save react add test utils. Okay, let's look at what, if you're using 14x or React less than 15.5. So to make sure that, I mean, we just barely installed it. So it should be using like 15, yeah, the latest stable build. So we don't have to worry about that step. And then, but we do need this one. If you are using greater than or equal to 15.5, then you need to run npm i-save-dev react test render and react as well. So we're going to need those things. Okay, so the tests need to be in the src directory. Cool. So yeah, a lot of setup here. This is not, even though we use create React app, we had a lot of stuff that we wanted to boilerplate you guys with. Okay. Let's get our post container set up, and then we can display a couple of images and see what's going on. The first thing I need to do is run my application. Should be able to just, yeah, there's a start command right there. Oh, I used create React app, so I should be able to just install it. Why? Command not found. I wonder if I just need to like run it overall like npm install. Shouldn't need to, just got all these dependencies and I installed them. And am I in the right like directory? Maybe Yarn uses like a different process that I'm not familiar with at this point. But yeah, it installed a bunch of stuff. That's crazy, man. I don't even know where to begin with that because we used create React app, so it should have given us all this boilerplate already. But now I want to make sure like my package JSON. Yeah, it's not. It didn't even give me. Well, I guess it gave us enzyme and CNOM, but yeah. Anyway, and then we run npm test, right? So if I get a new window up and running, so it's saying that I don't have JS DOM and all that. So which makes me think that this step that we were looking at here didn't actually work, which makes sense because we don't have those packages in our JSON file, package.json file. Yeah, I mean, even with like instructions, yeah, I wonder if like test window. Yeah. Anyway, I won't concern myself with the test right now, just due to the sake of time. But I'll make sure if you guys like, I can help you guys out one-on-one with this stuff later on. So just feel free to reach out if you're not able to get the test up and running and get it all working. And I'm sure it'll come to light for me. But for now, I wanted to get through like actually, working on building your data. So using data and consuming it and grabbing it. So ignore. Okay, VS Code injected a bunch of garbage. Okay, probably because I clicked a setting. All right, awesome. So let's move forward. Let's look at this stuff. Okay, so we have an app.js file. We have our test in there. I'm wondering if I would have to, yeah, we'll worry about that later. Okay, so we have this app file. We need to set up our post container. So I'm going to, once again, get rid of this boilerplate. I'm going to say, hello. Okay, make sure we're still like up and running, which we are. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to make our post container. Okay, it's going to break our code. I've got to actually create this thing. So import. And I'm actually going to put my components that I build in a directory called components. That might actually break the tests. What do the tests want? Post container from, oh, it just steps out and looks at them at the root of SRC. So that would actually break the test. So we're not going to do that. Once you get up and running it, with the test, it's going to break that. So, oh, we had a question earlier. Can you explain how component unmount works? Yes, it gets called when your component unmounts, when it leaves the screen. So you can put something in there that does some sort of event listener like teardown. So if you have like I've used it for that before. I've had on a component will mount create an event listener that's just listening for a window resize or something. And then as the user goes and clicks resize, so like this is an event. Right? If this was a browser, there's some sort of event that's firing that browser. So I've used it to build that up, and then I didn't want that event listener sticking around, so I would destroy that event listener in component unmount. So that's when it gets called, is when the component like leaves the DOM. Okay. Post container.js. And I think that's what the test load is called as well. So from post container, and so we'll just make sure it's not post, it's post. Cool. All right, so now we have a component, but it's not actually doing anything for us. So, oh, that's the test. Okay, so we actually need to make it work. So import React. from React. Okay, remember, all of our React components, we need to tell our components that they're React components. We need to tell React to be concerned about this data, to be concerned about this code that I'm writing here. Okay, and so I'm going to say const post container, because I'm just going to keep this as a functional component for now and not worry about it. This is my approach. I'm always building my components as functional components until I know for sure that they need state. Okay. Awesome. So right now I'm pretty much concerned about just like rendering some stuff to the screen, and pretty much concerned about consuming that data that's given to us from the API, right? So, well, API being, it's not an API yet. It's actually just this data, application data. So I'm going to put that in our SRC file so it's easier to reference as well. Okay, so I need to look at that data. I need to see what's going on with this. So we have post data. Awesome. So I'm going to say import. And what type of import am I going to need to do for this? Is it going to be a default import? Actually, I need to do this. Let's see. Post container. Let's look at our read here real quick before I lead everyone astray. Okay, there are two overarching components that you'll need to implement for this: search bar and the post container. All right, so let's handle our data where it's actually necessary. And where I want to do that is in app.js. All right. So how am I going to import it in? What do I need to do? Oh, and by the way, if you were confused about this line of code, it comes from create React app. Don't worry about it. It's not necessary. They put it in there for the ability to use, but you don't have to use it, and it's not going to break anything. So, but this, we're just going to return out a div real quick. It says post container. Okay. Now, if I look at the DOM, it should be broken. There we go. Post container. Good now. Okay, cool. So, but we're concerned about our data. So how do I import it in? What do I need to do in this file to get that application data from application.js? Somebody just type a line or unmute yourself and walk me through it real quick. All right, this is what Frank said I could do. Let's check it out. There, passing that down as a prop. So let's look at our DOM. Let's look at our React DOM, our fake DOM. Cool. So because he's exporting it as a default, I'm going to say he, the proverbial person who invented this lab for you guys. Because this data is being exported as a default, we can import it as such. So up here, we can import it. So Frank, 10 points for Gryffindor. All right, cool stuff. So that's. I mean, we did this earlier today, so you've seen multiple examples of this stuff. I've shown you a lot of this. So that shouldn't be anything new to anybody at this point. All right, so hopefully those of you who were twos, when you said you had started, you actually got to this point here. And then hopefully those who hadn't gotten started yet, you've been able to, you've been able to use this to get unstuck or whatever it is that you need to get going on this project. Okay. Now comes the fun part. We get to consume that data, and we get to play around with it. So let's just, for our sake, let's render out a post. So I'm going to say in here, I'm going to say props dot post data dot map. Ooh. It would be really, really cool if I made this pretty tag thing that just showed us our data in the screen. So we're going to return each post. And it doesn't like it because we're not doing it right what I want it to do. So I probably need to stringify it first. So you can go to MDN, since this is all just like gets turned into React, you can like, or it gets turned into code. So I wonder if I like JSON stringify it and I just pre-out the JSON. And don't worry too much about what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to see the post data. So yeah, but that really didn't do anything with that pre-tag. I could have done that in any tag, so it's kind of defeat the purpose. But anyway, I wanted to like render out all the images real quick and like show you guys what to do with that, so that you at least have some ammo to move into this. So okay. So this is, yeah, this was dumb. This was a dumb idea. I wanted to do something more fun, but it didn't work out. What I'll do is I'll actually show you a component later. I can just send you an example of it, show you how to use it some other time. So remind me about that later. All right, so I'm just going to render out a div for every single post, and it's going to say key. Remember, we use key because React needs a place to point to it. It needs a reference to this object. And we're going to use the usernames because they're all going to be unique. Okay, and then I want to render an image where things get awesome. Okay. Self-closing. Sorry. Okay, so what you'd want to do, if you want to point to this like URL here, it's just like a thumbnail of that image, the image URL. So we want to just reference that part. So we say post.URL. And we should look and see our images. Right away, bunch of images here. Cool, right? So now we can start styling these and say that they're 100% width of that div and things like that. So I could create a class name, you know, that's going to be equal to like our thumbnail. And then I'm going to create another class name that's just thumbnail self. And I could say something inside of a CSS file that I'm going to build right now. I'm going to say post container. We're going to style it. So I'm going to say post container.css. Because that's already out of the gate for me, already built. So I can come in here and I can say, what are we concerned with? Let's build these two classes. So thumbnail wrapper is going to be what? We could say like, you know, a fixed height and width. And I mean, this isn't necessarily like, you know, like fix all of our, like it's not the solution to all this. It's just going to help us like visualize this a little better. We'll just say 200 pixels by a width of 200 pixels. Okay, kind of boring. And then we'll say max width is, well, what we'll just say here is height of 100%. So now they, well, didn't really, oh, I have to import that in. So, okay. Import Post what's that here? So a little bit better. We could give them like some margin around that. We could say that, you know, put a little margin around thumbnail wrapper. And this is how you're going to like eventually build your entire stuff. And I'll just say 0.5 REM. So margin all the way around. This is how you're going to build your little Instagram clone. So now they're a little bit spaced out. You could put these in a container and style that container and put them in the middle of the screen, put a border around of it. This is like the main image. So you guys get to have like the most fun with this as you possibly can. But I showed you how to get your data up and running right away, and you should be able to cruise from here on out. And if you're still stuck by tomorrow after our code challenge review, please reach out to me, and we'll get back to you. And I'll personally ensure that you're unstuck and working on stuff. And then if you haven't already been visited by an instructor, we're going to be coming around in groups. So, well, it'll just be me and like 5 or 6 of you. So you could be me, you could be anyone. We're going to be coming around and working with you guys a little bit more. So, yeah, don't wait. Post thumbnail URL. Okay, I'll have to look at this real quick. Let me just pause.